Max Lindquist, how are you, buddy? Welcome to another race report.
Yes, sir. Sorry to miss the pre-race report. Whoops. But I'm back, and hopefully we can knock this thing out of the park.
Well, I'm going to hold that against you, and I'll be texting you and guiding you to your rig every time from here on out, kind of like a babysitter, just so you know.
Hey, that's if that's what it takes. So I'll make sure. Yeah, we'll make things happen from here on out.
Well, Leon did an outstanding job. We actually, instead of doing the 30-minute, we did an hour, and we just kept talking about the different scenarios and all kinds of stuff. We were really worried about the weather. I know you guys were watching the weather report, but I'm going to let you take over here. Did you get to look at any of the youth classes by chance?
Mostly just watching practice. To be totally honest, it was very chaotic with just us having a press day and the Saturday rain day / pretty good day. But definitely some young talent coming up. Saw a couple good races. I honestly don't know exactly what classes they were, but definitely some good rippers on some super minis out there. And then the 250 classes are looking pretty good as always. Other than that, no one in specific, to be totally honest, that I really got to key in on and watch. But was really good to see. What I did see of the youth was we had some good numbers by the looks of it. It was good to see, like, parking lot was pretty full for the first round. And, that's always a good sign to see the youth there, because that's the future of the sport.
Yeah, it is. It is. And those are the guys that are looking up to all you pros, and all that. That press day probably was pretty awesome for you guys.
It was super fun and super relaxing, which isn't always the case. Like, it's fun to go on the racetrack and not have a stopwatch put on you right away, just to get to go out, ride, learn the track, and relax. Plus it's cool to, get to go out there and sit down and chat with everyone and see everyone for a little bit. Like, it's a long off season. You get to catch up with everyone up by the gate and all that, which is cool. So definitely was a fan of the kind of press day scenario. Definitely would do that again.
You think they're going to have that every round?
So we've been informed it's not going to be an every round thing. I don't know if we're going to see it again at all. I kind of hope we do. But I think with this, it was more of a, inclement weather is supposed to be on the way. Let's get you guys on the track. No one's been here in 15 years. Like, let's let everyone kind of learn the course. And as well as it's the first race of the year, let's, kind of showcase what everyone's got going on. And, do I want it at every race? I don't know. That'd be a conversation to have, but it was definitely cool to have here at our first round.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's get into the WMX a little bit and talk about that. I know that your last year's champion is coming off of an injury, and Andrea Berger wasn't there.
Yeah. Probably to go back and sum it up, weather heading into that race, everyone got pretty lucky. The track was really good for the WMX race, overcast and cold, but track conditions were awesome. From what I saw, definitely looks like the champ's healed. She so looks like she's trying to put on another dominant season. Was very disappointed not to see Andrea there, because I think that would have been a fun race to watch. Hopefully, I don't know what she has all going on, but hopefully see her back here soon. And then Neve Shaw, she looked pretty good. Didn't see where she came out of the start, but, she's definitely, going to be Kenzie's competition. She's the next girl in line. She definitely showed that, she's got everyone else's number, just has to figure out what Kenzie's doing and, get up in the mix with her. And then from there, it looked like there was some pretty good battles through the rest of the women's class.
That's good. So it was Kenzie, Neve going 1-2, both motos?
Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah, I don't recall the whole order. But as a over or from the overall, it definitely went Kinsey, Neve. And then from there on out, I don't recall what the overall order was. But definitely, wasn't a full gate, but still a good group of girls out there, women, which was cool to see. You know, the pack's definitely really tight other than Kinsey and Neve. So hopefully we'll see someone start to push those two and get up there and battle with those two. But I would, what I took away from watching WMX this weekend is Kinsey Osborne's definitely going to be the favorite, and she's, definitely going to be the girl to beat.
And she's healthy. I mean, the conversation I had with her, it was unknown. She hadn't ridden, and she didn't even know she was going to make it to this round.
Yeah, which is crazy because I don't know how she did in her other classes either, but she was rolling. She's definitely riding like she had been riding all winter. So you wouldn't have known.
She podiumed every class.
Did she? Wow.
Yep.
I was going to say, I know she runs some other ones. I didn't know how she did, but in the WMX, she looked like she had all year last year. Like she didn't miss a beat.
Impressive young lady.
Yes.
So let's get into pro sport.
Yeah. Pro sport was quite a mess. So between first turn pile up in Moto 1, first turn pile up in Moto 2, and a full gate, which is great to see. Big class. Guys were ripping. They have a really good, solid top 5 guys there. Your Jaden Launderville, Joey Chambers, Mason Jackson, Brett Music, Blair Miller. Like there's 5 guys that could have won that race. And yeah, I unfortunately didn't get to see the end of Pro Sport Moto 2, so I don't know what the overall exactly was just because of our pro race. But I got to watch the first moto, and that is going to be a really fun class to watch throughout the year. I think a lot of it's going to come down to start. Like, I don't think we've truly seen maybe your front runners all up front yet. Joey Chambers had a bad get off in Moto 1 in the first turn, and then had to work his way up through the pack. And then Jaden Launderville had a bad get off Moto 2 in the first turn. And, what do you know? Brett Music, the man to beat in that class, pulled good starts, and I think pretty sure he won the overall and just ran away with it. But it definitely wasn't easy because there is a handful of guys, like I said, Blair Miller and Mason Jackson, that were ripping out there. Blair Miller looks like he's going to be really, really tough, like had really good starts all day, was pushing up front. I think it looked like he kind of still maybe working on like the physical side of things. Like as the moto went, it seemed like he made a mistake or two. Or I don't know if he just got a little tired, a little fatigued first race. But seemed like he had a few little mental mistakes. Otherwise, he could have definitely won the overall as well.
Pro-Am, I thought Launderville crashed in Pro-Am, not Pro Sport.
So he crashed in Pro Sport, not Pro-Am.
Okay. So
Saturday,
he won did he win Pro-Am? Or did he win? He won Pro-Am.
Yes.
Okay,
Sir.
so I got my signals crossed.
Yep.
A little.
Pro Sports, the 2 6-lap motos on Saturday. Pro-Am's the 13+2 on Sunday.
Okay. So he did really well in Moto 1 and then struggled with the crash in Moto 2.
Yeah, had a good get off in the first turn, and I think he ended up out of the top 10 even. So was a pretty rough day for the second moto for him of Pro Sport. Had a pretty good get off in the first turn. Same thing pretty much happened to Joey Chambers. Bad get off. and then had a better second moto. I don't honestly know where he ended up. But from what I've seen, like, it'll be interesting to see round 2 who shakes up where, because there was legitimately those 5 guys that were all running really similar times that could possibly win. And with that short of a race, the start was so crucial here.
You think that the same guys are running Pro-Am too?
For the most part, yeah. And to get into that, from what I've seen out of the Pro-Am race, which I actually got to watch both motos, not racing that day, which was nice. Mason Jackson was like by far the big standout to me. Obviously Jaden Launderville won, rode a super good race, but just as a standout alone, Mason Jackson, he threw it down on Sunday. He didn't get the overall, didn't win, but he's going to be one of the guys to beat. Like, he's definitely, him and Jaden are going to have some good battles from what I've seen, because he just does what he has to do. That kid hangs on and rips it and grips it. He was leading the first moto and then had a mechanical, I think a tire blew off the bead, and then won the second moto. So he really had a good day and showed good speed. And then Blair Miller, I don't know what that kid has figured out on the gate. His machine obviously, rips, but he was killing the starts, pulled both hole shots, ended up, I think, 3rd and 4th in the motos and 4th overall, or 3rd overall. I'm sorry, 3rd overall. So, with him pulling starts like that, if he can continue to do that and build on, he has a really good, like, first couple laps. It seemed like his pace just dropped off. So I'd say for him, like, if he can figure out how to maintain that first, second lap pace, like, he's also going to be, a threat to win. So between those 3, and then Joey Chambers just seemed to have an off weekend, but he was quick in qualifying. I think he'll come around. And then, Brett didn't run that one, so I don't know if he plans to not run that one, music or not. But those would be like my 3-4 guys that from watching that race really stood out to look to be your, championship contenders.
Wow, that sounds like those 2 classes are going to be nail biters the whole year around.
They are looking to and appearing to be, obviously Jaden's won, the first pro sport race at Daytona and the overall Pro-Am race. So I'd give it that he's probably the guy to beat at this point, which is awesome. Kid's killing it. But definitely not going to be easy. Like, Mason Jackson, Blair Miller have, they showed really good speed, and I think a lot of it's just going to come down to where these guys start at, because they're all really close in speed.
Wow, that's awesome to hear that the guys that potentially could be coming to the pro class are fast, strong, and doing well.
Well, it was really good to see, like, Jaden and Mason. You could tell those 2 definitely had the pace for the whole 15-minute moto, which, it's the start of the season, so they're only going to get stronger as it goes, which is really good at considering you have to add another 5 minutes to that. What was also good to see is, those guys are running really similar times to each other. So they're just going to keep pushing each other throughout the season, which is only going to make those guys faster to come in, to pro class whenever they decide to. So it was good to see, like, there was a pretty full gate in Pro-Am, and it looks like it's going to be a really good season of racing. Obviously I'm pulling for Jaden and hope he can separate himself. But at the same time, like, it's going to be really fun watching, because there's, 4 or 5 guys that could definitely, stand on the top of the box at the end of the weekend, which is just going to make that class super exciting and fun to watch.
Yeah, I just wish that I could get a little bit more info during the weekend of racing, a little text here, a little text there. Leon gives me some information. You give me some information. I get other people giving me a text here and there, but it's just never as good as being there. But
Yeah.
that's awesome. I'm going to shift gears on you a little bit here.
I was going to say, if I could chime in on that, just to put it out there, don't know if you're aware, Rated MX usually live streams the pro and pro-am races and a few others most weekends. I don't know what they did this past weekend, but through Facebook or Instagram, I think you can usually tune in there to try and watch something live. I don't know if they're going to do that all the time, but I know that's something that they've been putting together, which is super cool, just to give people a little more insight. Obviously not the highest quality footage, but it's at least something to try and, get a little more detailed attention to be able to at least watch something somewhat live.
Rated MX.
Yes,
I
sir.
have to remember that. I'm definitely going to have to remember that. Maybe reach out to him so maybe I can get some information from him. That's awesome. I want to shift gears on you and talk about the elephant in the room. Lot of stuff on social media. The pro class had a rough weekend. Before we get into some of those things, do you think this is because of the speeds or the equalness in the field?
A good combination of both, to be honest. Super fast paced track, and the field has all stepped it up. There is a lot of guys going really fast, and no one wants to give, an inch to anyone else. Nor should they. So I just think you put a full pro 20 gate of guys, which was awesome to see, on a really fast paced racetrack that, had some tight sections, first race of the year. Unfortunately, there were some bad spills.
Did you get any input on that first turn melee that happened in the first moto?
As in, I was right there, about ran Joel over. But, from what I've seen and from what happened, my opinion, unfortunately, it was a racing incident. Just unfortunate that, your two top guys came into the turn, neither one wanting to lift for the other, and they both went for a ride. Glad to see both of them walk away on their own. Unfortunately, Chad has a little more severe injuries than Joel, having to, get the collarbone plated and try and get back for Texas and, at least gain some points. Luckily for Joel, he got to walk away and finish the weekend out on the podium. But, just a scary incident. It was, it wasn't just the pros either. Pro-Am had first turn crashes. Like, unfortunately, we were coming off a great start, which was super cool, but I don't think helped the situation, considering you were coming off with max traction and coming into the first turn after a pretty decently long start. Like, you were just funneling down. It was a super tight 180, not super tight, but it was a 180. And you're coming in fourth gear licked, and, it's hard packed. And unfortunately, a lot of guys came together. I just don't necessarily think that first turn design was the greatest for 20 professional quad riders to come into the first turn.
Doesn't seem like it was the best design for most classes, but we won't ridicule the professional track makers too much. They have had a lot of races there. We're going to come back a little bit to the track and some of the things that have happened, but just from the knowledge that I have, we got to take our hats off. We've had a new person standing on top of the box and a new person in the two spot, with Bryce Ford winning and Jeffery Rastrelli taking second. Didn't see that coming, did we?
No. I think that's across the board, to not see Chad Wienen on the podium, definitely not a normal day. And to see Joel Hetrick third on a podium, definitely not a normal day. But, when you go from what we were just talking about, the top two guys, first turn, from there, you put out a field that, we've seen from the last 2-3 years that 7th through 3rd is, it's a chess match. Like, you don't know who's going to come out on top. And, Bryce is obviously coming off a really good performance in Daytona. Same with Jeffrey. Those two, riding a high right now, riding really good. Both had, I think they came out 1-2 that first moto, battled it out, and Bryce claimed the top spot the first moto, and then Jeffrey was second there. And that when those top two guys aren't in the top 5 in the first moto, it made for some really interesting racing. Obviously I didn't get to watch it, but just from what I've heard and being out there on the track, like, that really threw a wrench, and I bet most people's predictions. That's for sure.
Well, I had a conversation with Leon on the pre-race, and I had mentioned that, I didn't want to see a mechanical. I didn't want to see a wreck or something like that to cause a shakeup. But I felt all along that you were going to see new people on the box. And not only are we going to see a new people on the box, we're seeing a new red plate.
Yeah. That comes, that's not something we've seen in quite a while. So it'll definitely make for, good storyline, and definitely have to change up some predictions coming into, the rest of the season, and kind of see what happens, with, Joel coming from behind, Chad, going to be a little banged up, and you got these guys coming in, off a great weekend and, riding a high. Like, it's going to be interesting racing, that's for sure.
Oh, it is. And we're going to miss Zack Decker. We have to give a big shout out to him. He was flying, and unfortunately he went through surgery. Okay. From what I'm told, I got some text messages from his dad. I haven't heard from Zack, but he's doing good. It's going to be a long road to recovery for him, but he's, from what it sounds like, he's excited to get the recovery started so that he can come back from the broken leg. Kevin Saar is got a damaged spine, L3, I believe it is, and he's gonna tough it out. He thinks that he'll be good to go in Texas.
Yeah, I don't know from what I've seen, if he'll for sure line up in Texas or not. But I hope to see him. Super sad, to hear what happened to Zack, especially considering I don't know if it was necessarily all rider error. I think he had a little help, which you never want to see a mechanical, result in a crash. But, I just hope that, like you said, hopefully he makes a good recovery, because he definitely, kicked it up a gear this year and was figuring some things out. Had his first, 3rd place overall moto, score in the first moto. So he's definitely, figuring some things out. So hopefully, it would be really good to see him come back and get back to the performances he was putting on.
Exactly. That's kind of what we're hoping for. You never want to taper somebody's chance at moving up the field out like that. I believe it's Cezar Jeminez has an AC issue. He got in that first turn wreck with Chad and Joel. So I don't have much information on him, but we lost 5 of the 20 guys right there. And here's the thing that nobody's talking about. Joel raced, but Joel still hasn't seen a doctor. Nobody has any information on Joel's condition. At the time of this taping, we don't have any information. We know that he's healthy for the most part, but he iced his elbow and raced. And that doesn't tell you that he's okay.
Yeah, I mean, from how he rode, I'd say he's okay. But uh, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's going home and feeling it, and hopefully he is okay. Never want to see anyone get hurt. So hopefully we see him line up in Texas 100% ready to go. But yeah, I'll be definitely interested to see what he, has to say, and what he shows up and is capable of doing. Hopefully, he shows up 100% healthy and ready to go, because like you said, 5 guys in a weekend, isn't necessarily what we want to be doing. So it's good to see a full gate, and would prefer to keep it that way.
Yeah, so would I. I don't know what happened to John Galata Jr. in the second moto either. He rode the first moto, but didn't see him come out the second moto.
I think he got in a first turn pileup again. If not, he was involved in another incident, for what I'm aware. But to be totally honest, I'm not 100% sure on that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really close with John. Don't know his whole story, what's going on there. I know he's only running a certain few rounds. So all I have to say to that is, from what I talked to him, he wasn't sure what he, was all going to be running, not running. I just hope to see him back here throughout the rest of the season, because he's definitely, he definitely can run some moto. The dude's got skill. So would love to, hopefully see him back on the pro gate.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. We got to take our hats off to Bryce Ford and Jeffery Rastrelli for putting in the rides they did, and moving themselves up the ladder like that. Bryce taking over the point lead. I don't know the exact numbers. I apologize. I did not do my due diligence, my homework. So I apologize for that, but we'll try to get something posted later about it. With Jeffrey, I think he drops into the 3 spot behind Joel, which, Jeffrey hasn't been there in a while. So that's really good for Jeffrey. He seems to have gotten over some of his health issues and becoming the old Jeffery Rastrelli that everybody expects.
Yeah. From talking to him and what I've seen, he's definitely put in a good off season's training and work, and made adjustments to his program to, obviously benefit himself, and, just try to make things better. And so far it's, showing they're having good results, and, putting in the work. And he's been riding, like you said, like the Jeffery Rastrelli, you think of. So I definitely think he's, going to be a key player, for the rest of the races to come.
I agree. We got 3 weeks to Texas, and I know that some things are going to shake out, and Chad's going to get a gusset, and he should have his frame back in order and be okay to at least come and perform. I don't know what level he'll perform, but anytime you're putting gussets on the bones, it's not a good thing. So
yeah, from discussing with him, I'm not sure if, I think all that's going on there is try and collect as many points as possible. If you're feeling good, go for it. So hopefully, as I got a little inside knowledge, by the sounds of it, he should be all stitched up and ready to go, yet this week. So he should be on the mend here as soon as this drops, he'll probably already have had surgery and on the mend. So that'll be good. He's given himself as much time as possible to heal up. And, he's definitely not thrown in the towel. So, which none of us would expect from him. So I'll be definitely not counting him out anytime soon. So I'm sure he'll be ready to go and show up to Texas, do what he can. And by the time we roll the high point, I'm sure he'll be right back to his normal Chad Wienen self.
You can never take a guy that's won 8 championships out of the equation, even if he did drop a moto in points. He could come back full of fire and do things that none of us expect. but you got a stacked field to race in, Max. And I know that you're climbing over a little mountain yourself to get back into the flow of it. We expect good things from you. And there again, I really got to shout out to Bryce Ford for taking the points lead and winning. That to me, I knew it was coming. I'm glad that we got that out of the way early. And now we just need to continue it. I'm speaking to the rest of the pro field. Just keep it going, guys. Just keep it going. Nothing against you, Joel and Chad, but it's great for the sport to have a different winner.
Yeah, I think it just shows that, we're all working and all putting the time in, and I would definitely expect to see someone else win again. Obviously Bryce has a taste of it, and that's going to be his goal every weekend. But I think, Jeffery Rastrelli, didn't mention Brandon Hogue, but he was riding awesome. Didn't have great starts, but I think he figures that out. He's a key player again. Yeah, like I think there's definitely going to be some good mix-ups in the field as the season goes.
I think so, man. Looking forward to it. I get excited every time we get to talk about this stuff because, you have a better insight to some of the stuff that I've been doing research on the social media sites and reaching out to as many people as I can to get some inside story. I've definitely got to reach out to Joel and Chad and had words with each of them via text, and hopefully that they're okay and getting the nod from them, even though I know that you guys are tough as stone and are never going to admit when you're hurt. So it's okay. I know I was never their caliber, but I was a racer at one point too. And even when it hurt, it didn't hurt. So.
Yes, sir.
Brother, I know that you have somebody that you need to go see. I want to thank you so much for your race report, and we'll catch you right before Texas or Friday night of. I really hope they keep up those 15-minute laps for you guys, or the media deals. I think that's awesome for the sport. Yeah,
no, look forward to more racing, and hopefully the weather keeps holding out. That was a huge, bonus this past weekend, was not having mud races. So, obviously we're all going to have a good 3-week break here and hopefully show up to Texas ready to go.
All right, Max. Hey, everybody. That was the Max Lindquist race report from Gatorback, Florida. Thanks again, Max. That's round 2 for all you ATV MX fans. And we'll catch you again in just 3 weeks, Max.
Thanks, Leonard. See you, bud.